Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RacialInvestor.com's Broiler Chicken Show. Hello. Of course, I'm sure that's probably irritating as or AF, as the kids say these days, but what the hell. Actually, kind of cool how already the Broiler Chickens show things already on the page. So that's cool. Thank you, Chris. Way to be proactive. Anyway, welcome back to the Frivolity. Do see I started kind of late today. I'm not even quite sure why. Got all pretty. As you can see, I'm all bathed and I'm showered and I smell pretty. Suppose you don't have smell-o-vision over there on the interneting. But ready to rock Liam's world. And actually, if I understand correctly, today I think is a full moon. I think Andrea sent me a video about if you're going to do anything, today's the day to do it. The 5th of February. Actually, so there you go. Anyway, so the level 1 class did get out there a few minutes ago. So actually, I guess you guys finished pretty early. What was the topic du jour? Somebody can just tell me, so at least I know what it is you guys were talking about. Also, Chris sends me that Ask Me or AMA document, so there might be a question or two in here we could look at down the road. There we are, 2.5. Oh boy, look at all this. Jesus, you guys are going to have me working today. Maybe we should probably just do this and quit with the rhetoric, but oh well. Interesting to see US now basically producing jobs. It's fundamental analysis and it ended that early. Wow, that's surprising. Usually that's a pretty thick week anyway. So US added pretty big jobs numbers there on Friday. That was a pretty big surprise to the market. Interesting how old man Biden, he's probably going to be happy at what's going on there. Although I don't know whether he remembers the last time we had 500,000 new jobs created. That might be interesting to test his memory. See, sir, when was the last time the US added 500,000 jobs in a monthly jobs report? Of course, you know, I mean, like a doofus, and this is what pisses me off about these damn politicians. They're so like mindless this way. But he said, well, in my presidency, we've added 12 million jobs. Well, the fact that you fired because of this lockdown bullshit nonsense, you fired a whole bunch of people ahead of that event. You're actually going to take credit for them just being rehired? Come on, you doofus. I hate how politicians, and the saddest part about it, right, is that they're trying to speak to the lowest common denominator. And if you don't have a very intelligent sort of voter base, they're going to go, oh, really? Did Mr. Biden himself go out and create 12 million jobs? Geez, he's a swell guy, isn't he? It's like, oh, God. Anyway, point here is, Chapow. And actually, I did notice, I thought it was kind of funny. We were joking. Only the girls that really want to have Jerry's baby, although he's a white, old-haired man. I wonder if he has dentures yet. But some of the younger ladies in the media room, they're still saying, Chapow. But most of the men are like, all right, Jerry, you've totally fucked the economy up. Now, what the hell's the plan next? It's enough with this Chair Powell nonsense. Anyway, that's more rhetoric, I suppose, than anything else. But the reason why I'm starting off here is because, you know, Jerry completely effed up the whole situation there through that sickness. I mean, they could not have gotten the whole damn thing more wrong. They went and took interest rates like that were like 2%, 3%, which is like normal. Just take them straight to zero. I mean, what the hell? When was the last time you ever saw interest rates at zero? And what was that going to do to the economy? It's going to cause the economy to go to absolutely insane. And then, to add insult to injury, should we debate more about mortgaging our kids' future by just giving all these banksters trillions of dollars that we don't have, that you're just going to magically create out of nowhere? Is that going to possibly be inflationary? Shut the fuck up. Get that guy out of here. Somebody now. Kind of bullshit, which, you can see that they worked us. They worked us. And this is exactly the banksters' plan. Just everybody understand. And every single video that I am going to put out, I'm going to start off every damn video, just so you all understand. I don't know whether you find Jerry sexy or not, and Chair Powell, and you want to have his baby or whatever, but just understand that this is who Chair Powell is under the wool, right? A sheep in wool's clothing. And the funny thing is Chair Powell is actually a lawyer by trade, so he's not actually even a banker. This is the guy that's actually what's the funny names we have for these idiots? The Goldman Sachs doofuses, and the Joey Diamonds. Oh, Joey Diamond's your best friend. That guy would steal a lollipop out of a baby's mouth. Remember, he's the guy who said that Bitcoin is a fraud on national television on some talk show, speaking to that common denominator, when JP Morgan themselves have been convicted of fraud countless times. And Bitcoin has yet, I've been studying Bitcoin like a son of a gun for like the past, literally since 2013. And I have yet to ever see one single fraudulent, I don't know, proof? Is that the word that you use? About Bitcoin. If anything, Bitcoin's honest. These people are the frauds of the world. So just understand that. And the interesting thing is, because the world is run by these assholes, I don't think the Bitcoin story is over by a long shot. Do you think Skeletor Biden is going to stop his ridiculous, we don't have any of this money, but what the fuck, let's go spend people's money, let's go mortgage our kids' futures? Do you think that's going to stop anytime soon? And frankly speaking, I wouldn't be surprised by the end of this sort of 25, 26 Bitcoin cycle, the corn's like up at 100, 200, maybe even more than that. To that $200,000, whatever the hell a dollar is. I mean, it might as well just be peanuts you're pricing it in. That's how worthless these fiat currencies are. So anyway, rant. There you go. I suppose the good part about it is that these kind of people, they know about these cycles. They know how human emotions get humans to do stupid things at stupid times, and they take advantage of it. I mean, if anything, it wouldn't surprise me if you hear the messaging out of these people that Bitcoin's a fraud, that it's going to zero. In fact, I thought it was interesting, all of the tells that we look for to sort of mark the bottom of a crypto cycle. Bitcoin obituaries, mysteriously they all started to come to life again. Horrific scandals in, yes, technically crypto, but not really crypto. I mean, no offense, but Sam Bankman-Fried is probably the farthest thing from the true Bitcoin cryptocurrency, decentralized, permissionless platform that you could possibly have. He's like the anti-crypto. And yet, if you ask the public, you say, okay, well, if you laid out a whole bunch of people's faces, ironically enough, they would probably point to Sam Bankman-Fried and say that's the face of crypto. And the irony of it all is he's anything but. He's the antithesis. He's like literally, like they say that like in religion, the Christians say, well, Satan will actually come dressed in Jesus's clothes. And you'll think that he's Jesus, but he's actually the Antichrist. You can make the same argument with Sam Bankman-Fried. I mean, technically Bitcoin, especially if you're a Bitcoin maxi, is pure and it's unadulterated. And I think there's specific reasons why, because the people that built Bitcoin, they wanted to make damn sure there was some sort of out, so that the over the top socialist Bidens and of course all the banksters running their bankster games. And if you want it, like, this is a message for all of you in the public. If you want to understand how this game of money works, and that's including this jerk, it's all about this guy and the money masters. And the sad thing is he's literally spent his entire career trying to tell the public about how brutally corrupt this whole damn thing is. If you actually go to my our TRI's channel, anybody that comes to me, there's like required videos that you must watch before I even want to talk to you. And they are things like, you better get to know this dickhead, because he's basically the hammer. He's going to be the sharp end of the stick, although he's kind of blunt, eh? Anyway, so, he's the guy that you got to watch out for. So, I would just suggest you get to know him and understand his message, because he's basically going to be the bully in the crypto space. And it's so ironic how that whole Sam Bankman-Fried thing completely just blew up in their faces. Because I think he was working in cahoots with Bankman-Fried to manipulate this crypto space. But there's the Money Masters videos. I think everybody has to watch that. Of course, I think it's a good education piece. Everybody should understand how economies actually work. And I think Ray did an excellent job. Of course, 34 million views. So obviously, it is sort of doctrine. So if you understand this video and you understand this video, then you understand the whole history of money and the whole history of the way capitalism works. Unfortunately, it's a bit crooked. And double unfortunately, cryptocurrencies technically are still relatively unregulated market space. So, oh boy, is this space ever crooked. And the Joey Diamonds of the world, they're going to try and screw you as hard as they can. And there's nothing stopping them. Nothing at all. I mean, it's almost evil the way this world works. But the cool part about crypto is not your keys, not your coins. If you actually take the time and the effort to do things like get yourself familiar with, cold storage wallets and ledgers, and you understand private keys, and you understand, being not subject to Achilles heels like centralized exchanges, well, you could take full ownership of your finances. There is the opportunity for you to be able to do that. So the problem there, of course, is that at the bottom, they're going to try and convince you that it's all going to zero. And at the top, they're going to convince you that, hey, this is the next best thing since sliced bread. And you all need to pile in and go spend all your hard-earned savings buying the top of the market, which is almost always a potion for disaster. This is actually a cool image that I've been tweeting out over the past 6-8 months as we've been watching the price slowly work its way back down to the bottom end of the range. For the longest time, actually, through the entire fall period, I had to sit there and just say, gotta wait. But hello, look at what's happening now. So, if we just use the very simple principle of reload zones, i.e., I'm just going to take a statistical measure. And in this particular case, whoops, let's go the other way. Actually, we don't even need all these. Let's go. A statistical measure that just simply says, look, I want to force myself to buy near the bottom ends of ranges. Don't chase. All right, well, something like a Fibonacci retracement tool, and all this is just simply percentage of this move. Well, you can see there's 78.6, there's 88.6. We love 88.6 for for the venture cap part of this space. I like the idea, there was one gentleman in the space, and actually it turns out that he got beat up pretty badly on some of these scandalous crypto stories this last cycle. So he's like human just like the rest of us, and he often says, if you can get Bitcoin at 80% correction, then probably that's like a no-brainer buy. That's measuring off of the entire range, going all the way right down to zero. In a weird sort of way, I still think that we do need to probe against these lows. There's a couple of interesting things that are happening here. The first is that usually when these moving averages cross, there's like a check of the trend. So I guess you can kind of see it here. You can see the market's heading down, the moving averages cross, and you can see they crossed on this candle actually almost basically at its lows. And then what happens? Well, the exact opposite happens. The darn thing starts rallying for like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks. Well, what the hell? I thought you said that this thing was a downtrend. So that often happens with these moving average relationships. I like to use them to measure trend, but usually on a cross, and I suppose this one had a bullish cross, and you might say that this was the check, although that's a bit late. I suppose here's a good example, bearish cross, we're heading down, and then, all of a sudden this big rally just pops up out of nowhere. So I don't think it's a good idea to come in too heavy on the buy side up here. In fact, somebody was even asking me recently, Brian, have you got your little old lady plan up and running for this particular crypto cycle? Anybody, if you're just watching this video on social media, you never heard of me before. I suppose what kind of made me somewhat famous, I don't know whether it's really famous or not, but I took $500 back in like 2015. Late 2014, early 2015, and we ramped it up. I said I did a challenge, and this is actually when $100,000 used to be worth some money. It's not really worth much money anymore, but there was a fun challenge, and actually what's really cool is I did this on the Coinigy shows, and I don't know whether you've been in the space long enough to remember Coinigy. But, if you happen to be on the site, we actually have like all of our shows. They actually created like a Bitcoin and altcoin trading talk. There we are. Now there's a picture. That's I think about, hey, there's Will. He was one of the principals at Coinigy. So this is, how old is this? Gee whiz, this is going back a ways. Does it have a date on here? Can't even see. Isn't that interesting? No date. Anyway, this is a while ago. I mean, hell, you can see how young Brian looks. Anyway, there's Alex Sturck. He was a, I think he still is a principal over there at UBIC. Anyway, when we did these shows back then, I said, look, I'm going to take one of the students' tuition. Back then I used to charge like $500 for the level 1 program. And I'm just going to, the challenge was, I said, the challenge was, could I take $500 and turn it into 100 G's? So the day that actually crossed 100 G's, I said, look, I won, I declared victory. I did exactly what I said I was going to do. I mean, the funny thing is, everybody at TRI knows this thing went up into the, I think about $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 by the end of that cycle. It was ridiculous. So here we go again. Basically, it's the same thing. And I do remember, if you were in this space, let's actually, maybe that's a good opportunity to do some interaction with the people in the YouTube video. The hot story then was, and actually, let's see. The problem is that I can't do the Google search without showing you, so I'll do it over here. But who can tell me what these things were called? If you remember these things, then you have been in crypto a while. You've been in crypto as long as I have. Isn't that interesting? Oh, the original image that they used to show. I can't see it here. Let's see. See if I can find it. Just bear with me. Bear with me. How in that? Look at that. Google doesn't even have it anymore. So Google, and this is the one thing I really don't like about this quote unquote internet, social media bullshit world that we're living in, is theoretically, if I search for this term, it should come right up. But what I'm seeing here is Google has basically washed their databases of this image. Yeah, I had to do a super search to try and figure this out. All right, so can you tell me? Look at that. You son of a gun. Man, it's difficult to get information on this. And this is the one thing I do not like about the way this interneting bullshit thing is going, is they are finessing this world that we live in. If they don't want you to remember something, they will get rid of it. But basically, this was done in this world. So who can tell me what the hell these things are? And oh, by the way, probably if Klaus has his wish, this is you're going to be your new life. You better get used to it. So first off, let's do some interaction. Anybody here who's here in the hangout with me, what the hell are these things? What am I looking at? That's right. Very good, very well said. They do not want us to look left. You want to see a really, really good example of that? I don't know how to show you that. I was so darn impressed, but I can't remember where the hell did I see that. Do you know where I think it was? I think it was over here, maybe. And then look at this. Oh, this one guy, Julian. I mean, he's just a goddamn machine. I mean, I can't believe how many wins he's banking on. And I remember in previous cycles, in that last cycle, right? That last cycle, this cycle, man, I remember one time we had one guy, his name was Innie, and he used to live in that region between Spain and France. What's that called again? There's like a little area between Spain and France in the mountains there, and they'd like to be on their own. Anyway, Innie was from there. And one day, and I remember there was another guy, Jeremy, and these were the days of cannabis coin. Do you guys remember cannabis coin and pot coin and sativa coin and all of those? And one day I remember, I think the best day that I had in a single day, I banged out 13 doubles in one day. No, Chile's in South America. Andorra, I think that's what it is. Anyway, Innie was from there. And I think he got off something like 20 doubles in one day. It was just ridiculous. Anyway, Julian is this cycle's Innie. We'll call it, because we used to call him Innie Big. Basque, is that what it's called? Basque? So nobody got the answer, eh? Nobody. Who knows what this is? And if anything, this is such a good example. If you don't learn from history, you are doomed to repeat it. Can anybody tell me what the hell we're looking at here? And the weird thing is if you pull up the price chart, you just don't see any reference. I mean, man, anyone? Okay, somebody's got to know what the hell we're looking at here. Anybody? And this is shocking, because this is a really interesting tell about how, I don't know, how do you describe it? What's the word that you would use?
I only know it's a Moby because of how often I pay attention to irrationalinvestor.com. I don't think I
So
was
you've heard
around.
of this thing
I've heard
before,
of it.
and also it says Moby right down
Yeah,
here,
that too. That too. A little bit of a giveaway.
No. Any wouldn't be associated with Da Vinci. I mean, the irony of it all, poor old Da Vinci, is that when he was on the site, a lot of people on the site actually used to make fun of him. And I used to come to bat for him all the time. I remember there was this one German guy, he's richer than fucking stink now. because he was loading up on the corn in the hundreds of dollars. He's like a German aristocrat. You know what this guy's doing now? He's going around, he's buying up property in like Portugal and stuff and just converting it to national parkland and stuff. That's how rich this guy is now. And he used to accuse Da Vinci of like stealing other people's work on this site. So, no. Da Vinci was a character, I'll tell you that much. I went to bat for him so many times. I defended him so many times. But then that's who I am, right? There's a reason why all of you, each and every one of you, are brought into my life. There is a reason. God, for some reason, maybe you reached out and you said, God, please help me out here. And all of a sudden, God says, all right, where's that Beamish guy? All right, point him at you. Now go and listen to him and just do what he tells you. He's kind of a goof and he's kind of a weirdo, but he knows his shit. So just do what he says and you'll do fine. So I'm not judgmental of anybody. I'm a little bit, I don't know how to describe what I do. I don't make conclusions about anybody. In fact, I have a rule: 3 strikes and you're out. So if somebody strikes out 3 times in a row, there was one gentleman when I first got into the crypto space. His name was Flibber or Flabber or Fibber or something like that. He had 3 opportunities and he failed 3 times. And after that, I didn't want to associate with him. Then there was another gentleman who was working on the site for quite a while. 3 strikes and you're out. And I was done with him. So I have quite a bit of patience. And I'll say, Da Vinci has never struck out with me. I mean, he's a character, and I think he has a good heart. I don't think I think, he suspect relationships, but I won't comment on that stuff. But I think on balance, Da Vinci has a good heart. But the irony of it all, somebody was making reference to it. No, unfortunately, Da Vinci was kind of criticized quite a bit when we were on the site. A lot of people didn't really like his attitude, but full disclosure, somebody mentioned that Innie was Da Vinci's friend, and I can tell you unequivocally, Innie was not Da Vinci's friend. So anyway, that's here nor there. All right, so this is all about Arch coin. Doesn't anybody remember Arch coin? And in early 2015, Archcoin took off like a rocket. And it was all based on this total fraud, these things called Mobies. We were all supposed to be living in them by now. But I get the impression that the current Bitcoin, well, not necessarily Bitcoin, but the current cryptocurrency rally is very similar to this market state around when Archcoin, and a lot of people made a lot of money on Archcoin. So don't get me wrong, a lot of people, but it was all a fraud. And by the time the end of that summer had come around, Archcoin's rally was come and gone. The guy who shilled the story was gone with everybody's money, and Mobies became a thing of the past. So it's a really, really good, analogy of venture capital and the venture capital space. And it's fascinating that none of you even remember this. Like, you just obviously haven't been in this space very long. And it just goes to show that once about every 4 years, we just basically recycle the whole damn thing, and you got a whole bunch of new people coming piling in. So, yeah, and I appreciate, I think to all intents and purposes, Da Vinci has a good heart. I think he's got a good heart. I really do. I wouldn't put Da Vinci in a scammer category. I mean, they're like the people that were involved in the Archcoin and that Sam Bankman-Fried guy. Those people are scammers, and especially not so much the Sam Bankman-Fried. I've showed you this repeatedly. There's a guy that was sort of behind the scenes that was running the show, and with the glasses, his tweet that I put out here. I think those people are just absolute unequivocal crooks. So anyway, so the whole reason why I went down this road was I just wanted you to sort of see that, hey, we've been through this before. And if you want a good historical comparison space-wise, this happened in like 2015, if I'm not mistaken. It might be interesting just to see Arch coin. Can we even get a price chart of Arch coin? The irony of it all is that, like I said, I get the impression what's happening here with this internet thing is that it's sort of like it's a very, you think you're going to the internet to get it as a database or repository of information, but the information that you're getting is highly, highly finessed. And if anything, this is almost like social engineering, what's going on with this Google thing. I wouldn't, I mean, ideally back in the day when I first started using the internet, it was supposed to be like open source and like a way for us all to, get information and, exchange information freely. But I say what I think's happened here is this whole thing has turned into just it. Clearly, there are people that are operating society through Google and they want you to have a very specific message. So where is the chart? Like I typed in Arch coin chart. So where is the chart of this thing went straight up and then straight back down into nothing? I mean, this is Google. You would think that chart would be here. It's just the historical chart of this Arch coin. And you don't see it anywhere. I don't see it anywhere. I mean, you got sort of splotchy charts, but nothing showing the absolute collapse that happened. I mean, maybe this one does. No, look at this. Is BTC ACGL. So clearly somebody does not want you to see that Arch coin story and go, holy shit, these guys, they just keep doing this over and over and over, which is pretty pathetic if you ask me. What the hell is this? Like I said, Arch coin chart, Arch stock price and chart. What the hell are you doing here? I didn't ask for a stock. So it's kind of disappointing the way this stupid internet and crap is going. Anyway, needless to say, Arch coin is off the board. It's history. And interesting how none of you even remember it, because I think that we're basically in exactly the same part of the cycle now. So, and actually it was funny. We were having fun talking about Arch coin back in these days. And the cool part about it is we're getting the Coinigy shows back up and running again. I'm super excited. Had a great meeting with Joseph, I think it was, sort of their marketing director over at Coinigy. Will and Rob, of course, are still doing the Coinigy thing. They're more sort of like senior directors now. I don't know. It'd be kind of cool if we had Will on a call again, but super excited that we're getting these things back up and running. And if anything, this makes perfect sense because I believe that we are heading into the next crypto cycle. It is starting to happen as we speak. And was imploring you guys. It'd be interesting to see how long ago when I had those messages out. But just a few weeks ago, I think it was even sort of back in December, I was putting out tweets like this, right? Like this one. If you want to change your life through asset speculation, 23 is the year to get your together. Quit making excuses, get your plan together, understand what it's going to take to get you to pull the trigger, understand what good money management is and how you sort of frame risk without, freaking out and losing your hair. Keep in mind, I'm in my 50s. What do you think? This is not a toupee. This is actually my real hair. So I'm doing okay, right? So the number one thing is got to try and keep stress levels down to a minimum. So the point here is that, there's this, I don't want to be this doofus. I want to keep my hair. Thank you very much. So anyway, I guess where I'm going, like the whole reason why I mentioned this is because I believe that the current rally that you're seeing in crypto right now, to me, is very analogous to the 2015 crypto market and how it started to get going. Now, I'd also say too, I'm a little concerned that we're kind of just going straight up here. That's not healthy. In fact, Might be interesting sort of side. I'm not sure how I'm going to do this though. And there are names that like this that I just wanted to just leave alone and just let move up, but oh goodness, this chart's looking really heavy now. And the momentum is just falling off here. So, trying to be the demonstrator of best practices, I wanted to give these kind of names as much room as they wanted to maybe move up and hit 2.618s, but gee whiz, we're looking awfully heavy here. So, they always say that, how does it go? Caution is the better part of valor. If you are sitting on doubles and you start to see things looking heavy, it never hurts to let them have a little bit. And actually, I haven't really been doing a heck of a lot of banging out doubles, just sort of been getting the whole plan up and running, actually doing a lot of buying off of the lows. Some of these names, of course, have been popping up. And so I've been taking advantage of those opportunities. It's actually interesting. A few of the names that I did buy, like there was this one sushi, which I thought was a really, really good example of the various different risk takers in the marketplace. So, if you want sort of a nice screenshot of what are the various type of market participants, I kind of like this. This is a good screenshot to take. Of course, I tweeted it out, follow the Twitter feed. You can go and just surf through it and you can find the picture probably in a lot better picture quality. I came in and just bought some of this like little old lady style off of these big W's, these big wide W's that came in. But that means I got a risk down to here. In fact, on this one in particular, I actually took that Joe 6-pack, right? And little old ladies, they can just buy and risk to zero. Joe 6-pack, probably a little bit more typical investor. You get more than about 50% haircut on your capital. You're probably best just to say, look, I was wrong and get the hell out. And then lastly, here are the margin players with this cool little bottom that came in down here. And of course, those margin players, and here's bot setups and the whole damn thing. And I think they got paid nicely here. So margin traders, wow, they're kicking it. Ironically enough, from my sort of Joe 6-pack slow and steady, just risking against these lows. Ironically enough, this is a scratch trade for me. I'm still not really doing much. And really what I'm looking for, kind of like that Frax up top, I would like to see a move up top here, down the road up here. This one I played sort of the margin trader kind of trade. And so, what the hell, is pretty nice profit, take some profits. So just interesting sort of difference in how different market participants are acting through here. I would imagine most of the public is not really that big of a move just yet. Nice move off the bottom, coming out of the end of the year into the new year, which is ironically enough, incredibly cliche. So, if you were fortunate to grab some of this stuff off of the bottom there, then hey, in this one, I know it's kind of hard to see, but, the margin traders would be long from probably down in this area. That's like $1. And this thing worked its way up to $1.50. So not even really a double yet. So there are other ones. And I thought it was interesting going through this. There was this Matic. And I've been in and out of this one. I know Joshua, he was sort of extolling what a fun trading sort of a vehicle this one was. Of course, we bought W's. This also was a bullish bot setup. We had, that setup in particular has trading rules about it. So this double top here and on the fail told me to hop off. So I just threw the order right back in to buy it at 78.6. So I got filled. And you can see, this was a bit challenging here, but we never did break to new lows. This is the hallmark of a trader's life, folks. You just sit there, patience and discipline. And I threw my order in right back up at 78.6s. And lo and behold, let some go up top here. And I've just gone and thrown my order right back in to buy it back at 78.6 again. 6 months from now, hopefully I'll show you there's another banging out a double. Actually, this one wasn't quite doubles. This was more of a leverage trade. I made some great money. I was actually a bit surprised at how big the dollar figures were. But the point here is just, there's a million different ways to skin the cat. I like this kind of strategy of just buying and selling against 78.6s and uptrend lines, the base of this asset, right? You can see it actually goes all the way back here. We could probably even do like fibs off of that low there. And let's see, that's 88.6. Where's 78? Oh, that's 80. Let's go reload zone. So there's 78.6. I wouldn't really have a problem also. And actually, I kind of like this thinking as well. I might even, I'll put maybe like I'll buy half of the position back here, but then also put another order down here. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have to come down and kiss and trade along this trend line a little bit here down the road. Anyway, so having fun swinging these things. It's really just a question of what's your trading plan. I was feeling pretty good about that. If anything, I'm a little concerned. This guy's coming off here now hard here. So, and I'm seeing this right across the board. I'll finish off this rhetoric with quick boo at the corn. Where's the best place to show you this? I have it up here or not. B2 sheet. Ooh, down $500. Oh, ouch. Boom. That hurts. It's not expecting that. All right. So this is the message that I've been sort of sending out to the public here. I'm a little concerned, of course, and if anything, this is absolutely perfect, right? Brian's usually right, but Brian's usually early. That's so typical of me. So we have an algorithm that we built on the website, and this is my old 1980s sort of thinking. And really what it does is I created a technical analysis tool that's really the juxtaposition of about 45 technical analysis signals on one index, this DI. And then I run moving averages off of this index. So here, for example, beautiful W crossing the moving averages, very powerful bullish sign. What does price do? Price chung, 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 heads up. Beautiful M top, triple top, moving averages, crosses. Just beautiful failure. What does price do? Comes down. And it comes up, back up against top of the range, back down again. Then the W's come in, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, the point here is that this is my preferred. Look at this signal in here, right? Beautiful W's in the indicator, moving average crosses, outside, upside, key reversals, and up goes the stock market. So every single asset in our database has one of these studies on it. And then what the breadth is it's just simply taking every single one of those assets. This happens to be the S&P 500. So 500 of these different studies and just laying them out and just simply, are you a bullish vote +1? Are you a bearish vote -1? And then this happens to be two moving averages off of that breadth study. Works very well to just give you a feel for market sentiment. In our level 1 course, I suppose you level 1ers next week, Introduction to Technical Analysis, you'll be introduced to intermarket analysis relationships. And that's basically what this is. This is the definition of intermarket analysis relationships. And in fact, actually, Marat was even on the daily brief on Friday, talking a little bit about relative rotation studies. And he was also talking about some of the sort of sentiment indicators, same sort of thing than what this is, that he follows in the stock market. Just to give you an idea, just because I feel like showing you what the hell. If I show you breadth of the stock market, the similar studies to these would be something like the advanced decline line, because all the advanced decline line is nothing more than just taking all of the stocks. You can see I've already had this conversation with site members before. Just taking all of the stocks and just, this one's up, this one's down, this one's down, this one's down, this one's up. So your net is -1. And that's basically what this advanced decline line is. It's the same logic. So, some people use things like advanced decline lines to help them understand sort of direction of the market sentiment. I personally like, and of course I've developed it myself through my whole career, and you should see a similar image there, and hopefully you do. You see how the market's kind of gone up, emmed out, and kind of waffling right now. What the hell do I want to do? Do I want to crap out, or am I heading lower? And we just got a little fast sell signal there. Well, that's basically the same message. Big move up. Then, what do I want to do here? Do I want to roll over? My DI breadth indicator is actually broken down here in the States in the big S&P 500. I also like to look at this right across the board at everything. And I really like to look at the things like the Dow Industrials, just flashed a sell signal. Transports already had an M working. Here's a good example that this was already bearish. And they always say that you can't trust a move higher in the Dow if it's not confirmed by the transports. The fact that the transports were actually negative here leads me to believe that this move higher here lately in the Dow was a trap. Bond market, and of course you can see how the bonds rolled over here actually used about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Utilities now, utility stocks are highly interest rate sensitive, highly sensitive to the bond market. You can see how they're flashing sell signals. Sector ETFs, the whole broader economy, not really overly happy. In fact, actually the slow indicator is overbought. Commodities, kind of wishy-washy. They could really go either way here. Then if we look around the world, this is the big United States economic engine. Obviously with what's happened in Europe over the past year with Vladdy and all that, it should make sense that Europe is underperforming. And really, Europe looks like it's getting ready to get bitch slapped here. Canada flashing a major sell signal there on the medium-term basis. Interestingly enough, the only market here that actually is still relatively positive is Asia. And I think this is a function of China reopening up the economy. Or somebody over there says, is your algo ideal for day trade or swing trade? I would say more it is designed to give you a bias in the marketplace. So, like I've been cautioning you guys recently, and I said this earlier, right? Brian's usually right, but Brian's usually early. So our algo actually flipped over on the big crypto index that we follow. We have like crypto top 30, but it's only like, I think 27 issues right now. It flipped over negative here. So the trading plan that I happen to run that's off of the algo, right? You can see the crypto index. It's flashed and it's got ridiculously overbought over here. And we've actually been working our way lower with regard to the breadth of the crypto space now for like literally a couple of weeks, almost like moving in lockstep with things like the transports breaking down. There is a major disconnect here with the market. The bond market also broke down on the 15th. You notice that actually technically the S&P 500 broke down on the 15th. You can see Europe broke down on the 15th, 16th. Toronto broke down on the 16th. You can see it. It's right across the board. This is not just crypto. So if anything, what I'm really worried about right now, I'm fascinated, of course, the broader crypto universe. Keep in mind, there are a lot of bear proxies and stuff in this crypto universe, and it also actually tracks a lot of fiat currency pairs and stuff like that. So it is interesting how that spat up a little bit of a bullish break the other direction, but crypto itself hasn't, like the top 30. So I would consider this more of like it's an indicator. If we could get this crypto information off of like 4-hour charts and off of hourly charts, then okay, fine. You could use that to day trade. But as it stands right now, this is updated on a daily basis, so it wouldn't make sense to use this to day trade setups. What I would simply say is, if the indicator is looking like this, maybe cool your jets on the long side of the market. So, I trade an algo, but like a trading plan that specifically is off of this algo. And I said that as soon as this thing spits up a buy signal, I'll go back in on the long side of Bitcoin. But right now, looking at that chart, oh boy, does that ever look dangerous. And what I'm worried about here is that the narrative is being set up. Like the crypto people are being lulled into a trap. And it pisses me off because there is a big sort of political event coming up here shortly in the United States of America around crypto. And it is specifically, where are we here? It's on here somewhere. Oh, I thought I had it on here. Oh boy, man, I tweet way too much. There it is here. So, U.S. Senate Banking Committee to hold crypto crash hearing this month. And notice it's for the middle of February here, or in essence, about a week away here, about a week and a half. Uh-oh. So, are they going to have this banking committee? And they even have it labeled crypto crash hearing this month. Is it going to have any teeth at all if crypto is zooming straight up? No. So clearly, it doesn't surprise me. Number one, it doesn't surprise me that they relieve the oversold condition. Because if you look at all your momentum indicators over here, we're screaming, Willie is stupidly oversold. You'd be stupid to sell your Bitcoins here. And I hate to say it, but this is exactly why I built this indicator. Yes, indeed. You would have been very stupid had you stepped up and sold your Bitcoins down when this thing was spitting out stupidly oversold readings. It's really as plain as day, folks. Yeah, that's weird how that says 16 there, right? Let's see, how low do we got? We got minus 77, minus 78. Okay, so he never did get stupid there, but looks like we were quite stupid down here. Minus 80, minus 81, all that down in there. Well, exact opposite now. Now the market's no longer oversold. So, think of the market as a rubber band, right? It gets stretched out, and at some point it just can't get stretched out anymore, and it comes snapping back. And that's basically what this is, right? Market gets stretched out, oversold. Willie gets stupid. You start seeing things like bullish momentum divergences in these indicators, although it's probably not the best example here. But in essence, boom, market rallies up. And now, if you actually come in on the buy side, when this indicator is up above minus 20, and you can see we got like minus 11, minus 11, minus 10. So anything above minus 20 is considered overbought. You're asking for trouble, coming in on the long side. But now what's going to happen here, these jerks, is you can see, if you listen to Brian over the years, you know how much Brian loves his 78.6 fib. This is my favorite fib. If I was going to just have one fib to work with, one fib to rule them all, it would be this 78.6. And what I've told you guys in the public repeatedly over the years, what I often see happens is that the market will actually come down, and it will ultimately put the bottom in right off that damn 78.6. But you only see it after the fact down the road. And over here, you'll look back and go, God damn son of a bitch. Goddamn thing bottom right off 78.6. I mean, it's just so cliche. It's ridiculous. So technically speaking, this market is set up where if I wanted to be a buyer, I mean, you know how much that damn Beamish guy loves his W's? I mean, it's really obvious, right? There's the damn W staring you in the face. All right, down, up. I've even been a bit generous. Down, breakout. My hunch is there's going to be a pretty big battle right at that level right there. What is that? 18,373. But can you see how if they dump the market down into this level, they can start spitting out the narrative that, look, everybody, look at the crash. Down 25% in one day. You know, it's just going to be some horrific train wreck. And you know, like there's a one woman senator. What the hell's her name? Isn't she called French Lady or something like that? No, that's another lady. That's Eddie's girlfriend. What is it? Next French Lady future house. Well, yeah, I mean, hey, that's Zugi. Zugi should be able to go and buy a goddamn French lady's house now on his own. I think Zugi said he doubled his portfolio just in the past month. Anyway, there's one senator out of the great state of Washington, and like literally she has an orgasm every time this kind of shit happens. It's like this is her socialist dream. Yeah, there you go, Elizabeth Warren. Can't you all see here that if they dump this thing into that February 14th hearing, this is going to be her narrative. Oh, you can't trust these guys. They're all crooks. Look at it. It's down 20, 25% in like a week. It's all a scam. It's all a fraud. Buy your US dollar. It's the only thing that's actually worth trusting in this world. I mean, you can see it now. They're like literally the shit writes itself. If anything, I wouldn't even be surprised too. Who can help me out here? What does this kind of back and forth pattern kind of look like? So we can even kind of map it out. You know, quite often what I'll do is with students is I'll just draw like what do we call a market symmetry kind of study. There we go, something like that, then like that, then like that, and then, oh boy, puke out central. So what pattern is that? I mean, it's interesting how you can see they're bringing the price down. It's probably going to find support against all these lows here. That's usually what happens. And then we'll have a bit of a counter trend rally. Probably my hunch is candle body highs for trade location. If you were thinking about shorting the corn, heading into this big US Senate event, that candle body close there is 23,735. And this opened 23,736. So let's, I'll put that number right on here. My hunch is that's like the absolute killer trade location. So what do we say that was? 23,735. All right, let's we'll keep that in mind, and let's see if a trade sets up off of that level going forward here. I'd be willing. I'd even be willing to take a shot if we get that counter trend rally and the trade sets up here. I'd be willing to take a shot against that high there and look to see if you can sneak in off those candle body highs there. So let's keep an eye out for that level going forward. Also too, this is kind of a fun way for you to visualize what do fractals look like. Remember, a fractal is just, it's like a mathematical kind of thing. So it doesn't really have a heck of a lot of choice. Think of like the maple leaf, right? Does the left side of a maple leaf look a heck of a lot different than the right side of a maple leaf? Not really. They look almost identical. So if this is a fractal, then probably we're going to look something like this. Did I do that right? No, I did that. Something went wrong there. Let's try that again. There. And then what did I do here? Maybe flipped? Yeah, that's what I want. There we go. So should look something like that. And notice, right, if we do get those counter trend rallies into candle body highs, there's your 23,735 for trade location, and then into that hearing. And I just drew it off of here, but keep in mind, like I said there earlier, if I actually wanted to be a buyer and I wanted to buy on the cheap, well, there's the reload zone all the way down there, 78.6. Probably this breakout level, I bet you that's around 61.8. Mountain Man. So there's Mountain Man. He's sitting there. He'll be happy to step in on about a 20% correction from this topping point. And I suppose you could say from the highest high, about 22% correction. And from the highest high down to 78.6, where Brian would be willing to be a buyer, it's 28% correction. So somewhere down in this area. That would make sense to me. And interesting enough, you can see 200 SMA. It probably lines up really nicely with like 50% roll. So let's see where that is. 50%. Yeah, look at that. Incredible how cliche this stuff is. So 200 SMA, 50% roll. Could you see some sort of spike, big tail? If anything, that would be cool, because if we do get that big tail, then you know that, all right, buyers actually stepped back in and defended this anywhere down in this area. And I'll just sort of keep this on the screen. We'll review this in weeks coming down the road. But I like the idea of some sort of pullback down into this window here. So, there's your backdrop. And you can't say, I mean, if you didn't make any money out of this move, well, we got some work to do. I mean, there were a lot of people that made a lot of money. There was, I don't know whether, I mean, this one guy, like I said, I haven't heard from any. I mean, I'm sure any's like so stinking rich, he doesn't even bother anymore. All the guys that really knew, learned back in 14, 15, 16, I don't hear from any of them anymore because, of course, they're all stinking rich. They don't, well, why bother? I was hanging out in my villa. Also, another sign, this is interesting. Another sign that we're near some sort of frothy top. I put out this image about the moving average cross. Keep in mind, usually when these moving average crosses, we get some sort of check of the primary trend. So I think that would, that's supportive of a pullback here as well. And then all of a sudden, as I said, tell that the public is coming in, the shills about this, this is one thing I absolutely hate, and I think Alan loves this. I wouldn't even be surprised, to be honest with you, that he actually has these shillers. Actually, he likes this, because the more that this kind of crap happens, I mean, like literally, it was just, and what was fascinating is they even jumped on other people's comments. Notice there's like 8 comments on this tweet. So I banned them all on my response, but like people that retweeted this out with a comment, they jumped on this person's retweet of my tweet. Same fuckers. Who the hell is this? MEV bot. And notice how they spell article. So, this is the same thing as when Alan there was pumping up his Dogecoin on YouTube. I remember there was this black guy, and it was just a total fucking full-on Doge shill. If Alan had one ethical bone in his body, he would have put all of that shit out of business. So what a surprise. These dickheads, and it's the same thing. They shilled exactly the same thing. There's some sort of bot or something that's been pointed right at this tweet, at this feed. And I think I wouldn't even be surprised if Alan is the guy who's behind this. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Why? Because number one, some stupid fool in the public is going to get suckered into this, just like how they got suckered into buying Doge at like 75 cents, and Alan didn't say boo about that. And also, too, to be able to have this without being banned on this technically private company now, oh, why don't you just slide Alan a few bucks in a certain one? Maybe we'll make it a little bit, indiscriminate so you can't like clearly see it. But I wouldn't be surprised if that happened. And then also, too, finally, if he lets these guys just go rampant and it's absolutely out of control, Alan's response is, oh, well, just pay my monthly subscription fee. Oh, make me richer. And then you don't have to worry about it. But I don't know whether that's going to stop this bullshit or not. So it's just fascinating how, and what an interesting, it's almost like these guys have been, or not these guys, me, Brian Beamish, has been specifically targeted by these bots. And what I found fascinating about this is, I obviously I can't touch this gentleman's feed, TCG, whoever this guy is, but it's the same bots. It's the same bots. So clearly they have been directed after this. Fascinating. And like I said, this, you as wise investors, and really, the people that come to my school and learn how to trade, the people that follow me on Twitter, the people that are members of our community. I think I showed you, and really, who's the absolute flagship of this is Josh. I mean, Josh is really building this out nicely. This is absolute gold. You can't even get this kind of research on Wall Street anymore. You can't even get it. And we're giving it away for free. This research is just gold. But interesting, Josh is pointing out, like, the people that we speak to are people like Julian here. And I don't know what it is. I've said this before, but I have a funny feeling it has something to do with the Romanians and the Romanian culture. I don't know what it is. There's a gentleman, I'm going to make you famous. Sorry, Eddie, you're not going to like this. This gentleman here, he's got an absolute heart of gold. Absolute heart of gold. Romanian. Touching story. The guy works his fucking ass off for the man. The man totally takes advantage of him. I don't know if it's in the Romanian DNA. I have no idea. But we're very blessed to have a lot of these Romanians on the site. And, this is the audience that I'm speaking to. This is this is the people that I want to benefit from this. And look at what this guy's doing. He's just carving this market up like a badass motherfucker. He is our current generation's Eddie. I mean, it's just beautiful to watch. And what I really like is how Josh is clearly articulating this message. It's just beautiful to see the way that it's playing out here. I will say, and I've warned you guys this, that I do believe that 23 looks something like this. I'm a little concerned about the way that everybody and their brother has just all of a sudden just become absolutely insanely bullish of this market. And, I don't mean to be rude. I'm going to be when I say that. But that ChatGPT or whatever the fuck that thing is, that thing's a load of horse shit. It's a scam. I mean, I sit there and I listen to guys like that. The shill on YouTube is, oh, look at me. I built this. I told ChatGPT or ChatGB, whatever the fuck it is, to build an algo on TradingView. And look at this, 13,000% return. And the algo is like, buy the market when it crosses above the 50-period moving average. Like, duh, any basic programmer can come up with a script that does that. Do you really need an overhyped bot to do that for you? All right, I suppose if you've never programmed before, fine. But what was fascinating, I watched literally 3 different videos on this ChatGPT thing, and every single one of them was even a promotion by like a ChatGPT person. And he was like, oh, that's wrong. No, well, see, that variable's wrong. We have to change that. All right. Just remember, you have to go in, you have to change that variable. You have to put that prefix in. No, ChatGPT is using the wrong version of PineScript. So you have to go in, you have to change it. I mean, it's like, come on. I mean, if Joe Sixpack sat down and didn't know all of these hacks, like, I thought there was one hack. It was remarkable where if it was like that ChatGPT didn't put enough white spaces in between the variable calls. Now, how the hell is somebody who's never used a computer, doesn't know how to program, goes to ChatGPT or whatever the hell the damn name is, and asks for this script? How are they going to know that you had to put in X amount of white spaces between this variable and that variable? I mean, it's laughable. And what scares me is that the humans have been socially engineered. And that's what scares me, is that I don't see this thing very good. If anything, what I teach in our education programs is you have to learn how to trade manually before you should ever look at scripting or at writing an algorithm or a bot to trade, because you have to know what a good trade actually looks like. If you don't even know what the fundamental structure of a good trade idea is, how are you going to know whether this stupid bot thing that you're telling, oh, write a code to make me money in the stock market? How are you going to even know if it's even based on sound principles or not? And this is the trap everybody's falling into. And what scares me is that they're going to have all of these minions, all of these. I mean, you can see the claims on YouTube right now about the fantastic percentage returns about writing these scripts and these algos and these bots. They're a load of horse shit. It's a load of horse shit. And like I said, anybody can, I mean, it just drives you crazy. So my feeling is there is a massive trap being laid here. Everybody thinks that, oh yeah, AI is just going to take over, turn it over to the robots, you'll make lots of money. And I think it's just a big ass trap that's being laid here. And the public is just walking into this trap. And interestingly enough, sort of full circle, I think this whole AI, this incredible how quickly the circle jerk just took over. There's an expression in the market that goes too far, too fast. And I feel like the market just went way too far, way too fast. And everybody and their brother all of a sudden instantly is now a crypto bull again. Like, what the hell happened? Holy moly. You know what I've actually said, and I thought this was it's kind of a funny side commentary. It's more about the stock market, but there are, oh, Jesus. I don't like the way this thing's going. I guess I'm glad I hopped off a little bit here, but that's another conversation. There are artificial intelligence stocks in the marketplace. And this is what I've asked repeatedly. And nobody will ever answer this question because it's impossible to answer. But we had one gentleman on the site about a year or two ago that was all rah about artificial intelligence and trading vehicles and bots and all that kind of stuff. And he even had a couple names that he was touting as, oh, these are going to be the next best thing since sliced bread. And my question, the one that was really popular, and you can see, of course, it taking off here, but you tell me, if this artificial intelligence trading machine was so good, would it not have predicted what was going to happen here? I think it should have. Should it have not come out here, up here, and said, don't buy this stock, you are going to get absolutely destroyed? C3 AI. So if these things were really good, then you should have never seen this happen. If this thing was half decent, it should have completely hedged itself, and then the price of the asset would have just bumped along sideways, because every time there was a down move, this thing would have shorted. And of course, for every seller, there has to be a buyer. And if this thing is selling, then nobody would have stepped in on the buy side, and the volatility would have come right out of the market. But somebody had to be buying up here. And this is the classic bullshit. It's a human. story. These algorithms, artificial intelligence, all that kind of stuff, they're really only as good as the actual people behind the story that build them. So I could understand artificial intelligence down the road is going to get better and better and better and better and better. But frankly speaking, if the artificial intelligence was good now, it would have predicted that this would have happened, and they would have publicly come out and said, don't buy this asset. You're going to lose money. But did they? No. Why? Well, because they didn't know what was going to happen. There was no artificial intelligence here. This is a joke. Why is this thing being bid up right now? Is it because it's such an awesome idea? Or is it because other things in the marketplace that are artificial intelligence related are catching a bid? And so this thing's being bid up just out of pure inertia. And that's what I think is going on here. So don't kid yourself. If anything, you should all be able to answer the question, what is it that we have to see? And I'll change it to a weekly chart to make it nice and easy for you. What is it we have to see before we know that this thing is actually a buy again? And oh, by the way, an inverse one of these just happened up here, which tells you that this thing is a sell. So what is it that we have to see here to actually tell us that this thing is actually a buy? And again, this is getting back to, if you really want to make money from trading, don't quit with the bullshit. It never changes. Nothing ever changes. The shit that I teach you is like stuff W.D. Gann, he lived 100 years ago. And candlesticks, that's 500 years ago. Nothing changes about any of this. Point here is, this thing's still making lower highs and lower lows. I mean, it tried to bottom there and it got wickedly rejected. If this thing's actually a buy, it's got to start looking the inverse of this. Anyway, so, like I said, the whole thing with Google, I mean, doesn't it seem a bit suspicious? This was one of the biggest scandals in the crypto space in 2015. A lot of people lost a lot of money. Outright fraud, total disaster, an absolute joke. And yet, if you Google Archcoin and Moby now, nothing comes up. Why? Because you and the public are being socially engineered by these assholes. So I think this whole artificial intelligence thing is social engineering. And anyway, I digress. Okay, let's get on to the questions for today. And oh boy, look at all this. Oh, Jesus, I got a lot of work to do. I got about an hour and a half or so let's have some fun. I've already given you all my rants and stuff about the market. So I don't think anybody should have any questions about what the heck I'm thinking is going to happen down the road here. And really, it's just, as I'd said there earlier, I'm actually forcing myself to ring the register on some of these names and just getting the orders to buy them right back after the bottom of the range and just rinse and repeat. There's no reason anything's different here at all. Okay, 5th of February, 2023, BCS. Number one, since the stock market is boosted by all of this borrowed money, how could one imagine the backflow of that capital since it's driven by fixed income that has to be returned at some point? Lucas. Well, actually, this is at the very heart of the bankster fraud. How to react when everything else on market is pumping, but your bags barely move. Well, just slow and steady wins the race. Diversify, I suppose. It's a good, I don't mind people being in the AI names. I mean, surely you've seen the shit that Sjord's been going through. Poor old Sjord. Get bids working. There's no reason. But if you're in stuff and it's not moving, well, it sucks. You just got to cool your jets, right? I understand there's a lot of stuff that's just not doing anything right now. And then if you go back to like previous cycles, crap, and then the talk about fraud, the damn Bitterix, what a joke that place was. Like this Ubik. Why is this Ubik such a piece of shit? I mean, are these guys not doing anything? I mean, look at that thing. Wow. Yeah, you got to ask yourself, was this just all a big con job? I mean, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. There's a lot of stuff for the previous cycles that are just not doing anything. It's always a good idea to keep a little bit of powder dry. This is why I have the 5% rule. And really, you should have your money spread out. And if anything, in the crypto space, try and do like some, okay, these are legacy names, some, hey, these are up and comers. Hey, these are KuCoin, because KuCoin seems to be hotter than hot right now. But if you're sitting there and there's just not a heck of a lot to do right now, well, there's just not a heck of a lot to do right now. It's simple as that. I suppose if you're at your cost basis, you could always just hop off if you're saying your bags are not moving and go and look to play another name. But whatever you do, do not chase, do not chase, do not chase, do not chase. If you want to get in on these kind of names, find some capital, throw some stink bids in, and just get to work, right? Even if you like this AI thing, no way I can justify you buying that up top there. But if you really wanted to get involved, no reason why you can't draw reload zones and start working bids down below. That would be my recommendation. It's not really much of a recommendation. Anyway, okay, so back to the questions in particular. That question just jumped out at me. So, this question right here is actually the root of the entire problem with the whole system. And this is what guys like me get so angry about. Because what's ending up happening here is that the banksters, of course, they make money. And remember who the banksters are. Don't kid yourself. Banksters are not people like this. Will has actually got a really good heart. Right? Banksters are banksters are these assholes. Right? Joey Diamond. Right? If anything, this is what Joey Diamond aspires to be. Remember Pottersville? Do you remember? I don't know whether you've ever watched this movie, but Bedford Falls, which was a nice quiet bedroom community, turned into Pottersville, and everybody was living in shanties. And of course, the price of rents was through the roof, and this guy was making a fortune. So remember, that's the bankster's model. Lend out money, get paid at interest. Did they, in good times, do they maybe lend out too much money? Yes. Right? I don't know whether you remember or not, but there was a famous doofus on TV. There was this company, and I'm sure this was probably owned by the banks, but this dickhead in the, because keep in mind, in the housing bubble pre-2008, I was a retail stockbroker, and this dickhead was on TV every single damn day, 24/7, lost another loan to Ditech. I mean, the American public was just, I mean, it was remarkable. And what was so sad is that people that were living in ghettos, they were encouraged to, I lost another loan to Crytek. That's a good one. But they were encouraged to go and borrow money. These dickheads, right? And, all this fine print, I bet in here, it says Ditech is owned by Joey Diamond. It wouldn't surprise me at all. But it was all a trap. And it was a ridiculous trap. It was embarrassing how bad the trap was. Like I said, people in the ghettos down in the States were taking out home loans and buying Cadillac Escalades. And it was like, what are you people doing? And the terms of the deals, they were like, 1, 2, 3 year adjustable rate mortgages. And when the mortgage renewed, it renewed at like 5 times the rate. And oh, by the way, if you didn't have pristine credit, they wouldn't renew the loan. And all of a sudden, poof, 2008 financial crisis happens. And the banksters knew that they couldn't pay back the loans. George Bush Jr. even said publicly, we want to make sure every American that wants to own a home gets to own a home, and we will use government agencies to guarantee those loans. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. So what do the banksters do? The banksters pump up the borrowing. It'd be interesting to see where this guy even is now. I bet you he's dead. But the point here is get everybody and their brother to borrow money because, hey, we got George Bush Jr. here saying we've got government programs that are guaranteeing the loans. So the banks lend, and then all of a sudden the whole fucking thing breaks. What a surprise. And the worst part about it is not a single one of these executives was held to account. Not one. I mean, that's the thing that makes you so angry about this. And then when, it turns out that these people living in the ghettos that took out these loans, that there's no way they could ever afford the loan. And especially when you have adjustable rates where the loan payment goes up like 5-10 times. They had bad credit to begin with. So when the credit quality starts to slip and the terms of the refinancing all of a sudden change based on your credit quality, all of a sudden all these loans just disappear. Poof. And the banks are sitting there going, well, we're too big to fail. You better do something about this because U.S. government, you guaranteed these loans with Freddie Mae and Fannie Mac and all that bullshit. So what ends up happening? The U.S. government goes, all right, well, I guess we got to print off a whole bunch of money and give it to these banks so that they're made whole again. That's exactly what quote unquote quantitative easing was. Don't kid yourself. The irony of it all is the only reason why quantitative easing happened to begin with was because it was the Chinese who were taking all of these bad loans in the form of payment for all of the cheap slave labor that they gave the Americans in return. How convenient. What a convenient relationship. Now, when it's China's turn to default on all this bad paper, now all of a sudden, mysteriously, we have a sickness that's just enveloped the world, and Russia's going and creating wars to try and distract everybody from the fact that the biggest real estate bubble in human history just popped, and nobody is saying boo. Are we going to mysteriously find out that, well, all of a sudden, Chinese banks are all of a sudden too big to fail, and we better go print off a whole bunch of money and give it to them? And, I've told you all, 47, 48, inflation went absolutely rampant in the States. And that was the last great reset that Klaus is all telling us about. Remember this dickhead? Keep in mind, all of these players, they all know ahead of time exactly what's going to happen. I'm sure my neighbors are like, oh my God, he's fucking lost his mind. But keep in mind, this dickhead here, these guys have been planning this for like literally 10 years now. Where is he? Where is he? Come on, where is this goof? Well, every time I scroll through there he is. I mean, they've all been planning this. I mean, that's the worst part about it. Like Cole Skoll says, I mean, it's all a scamdemic. It's stunning how this thing's a scam. So this comes a full circle back to your question. So if you go and lend out a whole bunch of money that nobody can afford to pay back, and it's gotten so bad that the loans are actually staggeringly larger than the entire size of the economy, how do you solve the problem? And it's actually really easy. You just go and print a shitload of money. And that is this image. There is the solution to your, we're going to loan so much money, these peasants aren't going to know what fucking hit them. And yeah, the banks are going to make a fortune and they're too big to fail. So they don't ever have to worry about going out of business. So how are we going to solve the problem? Well, the easy solution is turn those printing presses on. That's what this image is. And so if you print so much money that the size of like the net total debt of the old debt becomes just a fraction of the total size of the economy, including all this newly printed money, then that issue of the size of your debt mysteriously disappears. I don't know whether that answers your question or not. It's a tough question to answer because what it means is you really have to stop with the bullshit. Lucas, are you here? So Sean Kalji says, for whatever it's worth, just watched Margin Call, shows everything you say. All right. Where is Lucas? Lucas, are you here? I don't know. Give me some feedback. I mean, this is the heart of the problem. Now, this wouldn't be possible if your currency was actually backed by some hard asset. Are the dollars that these people are printing, and remember I showed you, I mean, the worst part about it for me is that I live in a country where the guy who's actually in charge of the country has no education about financial markets at all. I mean, he's a substitute drama teacher. That's his professional vocation. I mean, this is as bad as like having Fidel Castro as like a peasant running your country. And these guys, once they get into power, they can murder you if they want. I mean, hell, you saw what he did with the truckers who wouldn't obey Justin's direct orders to vacate the Capitol when they felt like they were being screwed over by their government. He just basically froze all of their bank accounts. I mean, that's one easy way to make people really desperate in this world, is just take away all of their wealth. And that's what's so scary about our society right now, is we're on a very dangerous footing here, where people like Justin could become totalitarian dictators very easily. And all it is just the switch of a button. As long as he has the banksters on his side, and he said, I mean, just think, there's very little difference between a guy like Adolf Hitler or Joseph Stalin and what Justin is doing in my country. The line is very fine. I mean, you see what's happening to that Jordan Peterson guy. I mean, and I also put it in my Twitter feed here. Do we actually live in a world of free speech? If you go through and listen to what happened to this lady, and this is not sexism, this is not wokeism, this is not leftism, this isn't rightism. I don't really give a shit about your ideology. I don't really care. What I care about is, do you have the right to actually speak your mind in this society? And we are losing those rights. And that's what's very scary. And this poor lady, she just wanted to go and tell an audience that wanted to listen to her what she was thinking. And she was literally told, no, you're not allowed to do that. Scary times we live in here, folks. Scary times. So anyway, point of the matter here is, you're right. There's too much debt, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And the problem is that if you and I default on the debt, we lose all our assets. But if the banksters default on their debt, they're deemed too big to fail, And these governments print money, which what is the number one thing that happens when they print money to bail out these banks? Number one thing that happens, you and I, our standard of living all collapses. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And if you don't understand that, then what you need to do is listen to, and I think I have him on my feed. Actually, it'd be interesting. I should have him on here. Mr. Money Masters, he's going to tell you the way the game works. But oh no, I don't. Oh, geez, I really should have him on here. But I know I definitely have him on my Twitter feed. You need to, well, and what's so fascinating is the Bank of Canada's and this is what pisses you off, is that these cocksuckers are actually debating this and saying, no, actually, you're wrong. No, you stupid bureaucrats. It turns out you are wrong, right? And the person you should be listening to, but nobody is, and it's totally being covered up, is good old Milton Friedman, right? If you really want to understand how money works, and I don't know why I don't have my darn. Why don't I have it? And it'd be funny if he was sort of removed. Anyway, here is Mr. Milton Friedman. Where the hell is it? No, that's not it. Interesting. So they just wipe out all screen captures and stuff. Make sure these plebes cannot understand this stuff. Anyway, I'm not quite sure why I don't have this, but where the hell is it? Try that again. It's pretty important. You should get this. And see our investor and there he is. This is what you should watch. So, I mean, this is the sad part about it. He made the argument in the 1970s. You want to know why we have hyperinflation, runaway inflation problem? There is the quantity of money per unit of output, and there is the consumer price index. What a coincidence, eh? Don't you think? Don't you think? And what's worse is that this is a relatively okay slope. And you can see in the late 1970s, the slope started to go up and the hyperinflation kicked in. Look at the fucking slope of this goddamn curve now. I mean, this isn't parabolic. This is like hyperbolic. I mean, they're literally destroying our lives right in front of our eyes. And there's not a damn fucking thing any of us can do about it. It's disgusting. So, you want to learn? What I would strongly suggest is you get off your butt and you start studying. No, I've got a segment of 13. Now, unfortunately, the worst part about this is that nobody likes to sit and listen to Milton Friedman. He's a pretty dry guy, you know. But anyway, so if anything, I'm gonna have to. I've got to put this as a in that feed. So actually, I want to leave that on the screen. So you've hit the nail on the head here, sir, Lucas. This is the heart of the whole fucking problem, and it's very, very difficult to explain this to the public because the public they just don't get it. It's too difficult for them, and the banksters have set this up so perfectly. That keep in mind, they took over the system in 1913. So that's how long they've been running this system, basically a full 100 years. And they're just loving it. They're loving it so much. The plebes, they actually suck Jerry's dick with, hey, Chair Pal, we love you, Chair Pal. Can I have your baby, Chair Pal? You're so fucking hot. And they don't even realize they're being played. Anyway, so there you go. Number 2, if the FOMC, now from now on, we have to call them the FUMC. So I think that needs to become doctrine around the site. If the FUMC bought up all the bad loans, does that just simply mean they made more debt? Well, no, because what they're doing, remember, they are allowed to issue money. So you hear them talking about monetizing the debt. That's what they're doing. And if you think about it, dollar bills held in your hand, they are nothing more than just very short-term debt instruments. So you're going to have like US Treasury bonds, that's like a 20, 30-year obligation. A US dollar bill, that is like a one-day obligation. It's all debt. So what's ending up happening here is this is a fugazi. And when you say bought up all the bad loans, who did they buy them off of? Remember I said earlier that the only reason why quantitative easing happened, in my opinion, was because the Chinese said, if you don't buy these bad bonds off of us in 2009, 2010, 2011, we're going to bankrupt your country. We're just going to dump all the bonds in the marketplace. Your bond prices are going to go to zero and you are SOL. And so the Americans scrambled and created this, quantitative easing. You know what? We're going to do this funny trick where we're going to take bad bonds over here and we're going to put them over here. And we're going to give you in exchange these dollar bills. And just don't mind those. Those bad bonds are just going to sit over there. But, when the time's right, we're going to also put them out back into the marketplace. So like I said, what's ended up happening here is just the money supply, those dollar bills, which are nothing more than just like one-day loans, that exploded higher. All those bad bonds are sitting there, and the Feds even basically said that we are just going to let them run off, or i.e., they're just going to make the people pay the loan back, add interest, and then this is the new world we live in, where instead of us having a $1 trillion economy, now we have a $30 trillion economy. How the fuck does that work? And of course, your loaf of bread, instead of it being $1 a loaf, it's now it's about $5 a loaf. Probably, after the 47, 48 cycle similar period, that loaf of bread is probably going to be a good $10. It would make sense, just basically a 10x on your loaf of bread futures. And then, of course, they'll sprinkle in a war in Eastern Europe, and of course, blame all the inflation. Oh, well, this is all Vladimir Putin's problem. This is why the grain prices are going up. Well, not really. I mean, the irony of it all is you want to see what actually the real price of a loaf of bread is right now. This is the shocking part about this. If you go ZW1 exclamation mark divided by M2, here is your real price for a loaf of bread. Now, you tell me, if we zoom out, or let's take a little bit longer term perspective, what direction is the price of a loaf of bread going in? Is $10 a loaf of bread? Is that really a high price? Anyone? Is this price a loaf of bread $5 at your grocery store now? Is the price really going up in reality? Or is the price actually going down? I mean, that's the scary part about all this. How about crude oil? Is crude oil really expensive right now? Or is it all a Joey Diamond fraud? Crude oil prices right now are the same level that they were during the US Gulf War. They're cheaper than the price was for crude oil when George Bush Sr. invaded Iraq the first time. What? You're kidding me. How's that possible? It's because they've just flooded the market with dollars. The relative value of an actual barrel of crude oil is collapsing. So sad. And yet You try and tell the public this, and they're like, oh, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Oh, it's inflation. There's nothing you can do about inflation. Oh, God. And it never ends. I mean, the banksters, Jerry must sit there and fucking masturbate to this stuff. It must make him so happy. It must be just such a fucking, must be such a power trip for these guys like Joey Diamond sitting there just seeing the bullshit that he's pulled over on this society. He must be just so happy. It's stunning. It's absolutely stunning. Oh, well, what can you do? All I can do is spend whatever time I have left on this planet just trying to get the truth out. Oh, it's terrible. But anyway, at least hopefully you're understanding this. Okay, so if the FOMC bought up all the bad loans, does that just simply mean they made more debt? Technically, yeah. I mean, if you think about fiat currencies, a dollar bill is nothing more than a short-term debt instrument. How do you really cover from inflation? One word and one word only. How does it go? What's the one thing that could maybe help you in this inflation world? A Bitcoin! I mean, the question I have for all of you is, has Bitcoin actually gone up in price? I don't think it actually has, It's just the collective standard of living of all of us has collapsed. So if you actually look at like Bitcoin in real terms, taking into account the Joey Diamond Fugazi fraud, Bitcoin's price right now is actually lower than it was in this was Donald Trump's 2017-2018 rally peak. So there's your solution. And I think that this was created by the people that saw that George Bush Jr. and all his cronies are going to be run out of Washington on a rail in 2008, and they knew how bad the situation was. I think they created this to offset that hyperinflation. So there's your solution. And I might make the argument that really Bitcoin hasn't gone up this much. The value of currency is just absolutely collapsing. So as a result, Bitcoin price gets bid up just to offset that. And that's the beautiful part about Bitcoin, is that it seems to correspond perfectly with things like the inflation cycle, things like the monetary, the money cycle, raising interest rates, lowering interest rates by the US Federal Reserve. I don't think it's an accident. I think all of it all works together. There's no accident that Bitcoin has this 4-year halvening cycle. No accident whatsoever. And interestingly enough, once they actually get through this whole money printing bullshit, they get on the other side of this quote unquote great reset. Thanks, Klaus, you dickhead. Once we get on the other side of all of this, then I think they will destroy Bitcoin. Right? Once they get the public all fully invested and fully loaded up at Bitcoin, maybe it's, I don't know, $1 million a coin, who knows, then they'll dismantle it. But we still have to get through this hyperinflation wave. And I've shown you this, we actually had a gentleman who did a presentation on what was it? I think it was Wednesday. Mr. 1075. That's the only way I know his name. I think his name's Effie, if I understand correctly. But he showed us this, and I thought this was fascinating. I've shown you guys this image here. I showed you this image in the sort of historical data. So if you go CPI 1940s, I think that'll work. Inflation in the consumer price index 1940 to 1949. What's really scary is here is 1941, 1942. And you can see inflation numbers, and this is what we just went through. You can see they got pretty damn scary there, right? Remember the beginning of last year, Vladdy invades fucking Ukraine, right? What a coincidence. But there is the peak of inflation, and this is the last great reset. And what scares me is this is not the bad part of this cycle. Look what happened down here. Look at and this is fascinating, right? Because you hear these clowns saying, oh, yeah, we've got the inflation thing under control. Yeah, Sherry Powell is saying, oh, yeah, the disinflationary pressures are already starting to kick in. So you can see 43, so think 23, the numbers are falling. 44, 24, numbers falling. Look at that. They actually get it all the way back to we have no price inflation. And you can hear, what a coincidence, 2024. Isn't that a presidential election year? So they're going to have it so that Biden's going to come out and say, look at me, I'm so awesome, I'm half dead, but disregard that. Look how I got inflation under control. Aren't I the best, right? Re-elect me. Don't elect that Trump guy. And then look what happens. The election is in November 24. Look what happens, like literally 45, 25. Look at the numbers. They start to ramp back up. And then look what happens about the middle of 46. And Cole was telling us celestially a whole bunch of shit is supposed to hit the fan in 2027. Look how we go 3%, 3%, 9%, 11%, 15%, 17%, 18, 19%. Oh, fuck me. So in like 6 months, all hell is going to fucking break loose there. I mean, it's going to go crazy. And then what's interesting is if we can get to the end of this decade, keep in mind 1950, I think corresponds with 2030. 1950, what happened? Oh, the Americans basically went to war with China. I don't know whether you remember that or not. It was a proxy war, but to all intents and purposes, the Western world was basically on a full-on war with China. And MacArthur at that point, he wanted to drive a bunch of I don't know what the bomber was then, but wanted to drive a bunch of bombers into Beijing and just nuke the whole fucking place. He said, we could take care of this China problem really quickly, really easily. Oh, no, you can't do that. Can't do that. Well, why? Well, because this whole war is actually going to fit nicely with our narrative of the Great Reset. I don't think that's an accident. And frankly speaking, I think in 2030, there is going to be one hell of a shoot 'em up. And this is the big global war that I think I'm most worried about. I think Russia and what Vladdy's doing is just a precursor to the show. Now, maybe who knows what the reasons are that this happens, but oh boy, is it going to be ugly. To see this graphically, and this was so cool, was we had a gentleman come on this site the other day and do a presentation, and he got all these data points. So here is the 1980s inflationary problem, and notice there's 2 waves to it. Here is the 1940s inflation problem, and this is what I think we're going through right now. We just went through this part right here. Then notice as soon as inflation tops and starts to appear to be coming down, look how the stock market comes alive here. You can see we're probably going to rally back up into sort of this is, I would imagine this is going to be like Donald Trump's peak. And just remember this image right here, right? Look at this. This is the dot-com boom. This is the George Bush housing peak, or, somewhere around there. And notice how this is like a head and shoulders pattern. Interestingly enough, as soon as inflation starts to rear its ugly head again, notice the stock market stops. And then we have to go through, this was that latter part, 47, 48. And this, unfortunately, is what I think's coming in front of us. There's a whole bunch of anecdotal evidence. The gold stocks, the way that they acted in the latter part of the 80s, probably if we looked at gold stocks back in the 40s, might be interesting to get that correlation. I think I've shown you guys before, although it might be difficult for me to get this quickly. But if we look at the way the stock market is structured now with the money printing, we look almost identical to this. So let's see if I can grab that quickly. Fudge. I want to say here, maybe cycles. I think it's this one. Or maybe it's this one. Anyway, we'll do both. No, it's not this one. Fudge. I always do this. Every damn time I do this rant, it's always the same thing. It's not that one. Maybe it's this one. Hey, there we go. So here is that this is the greatest generation. There is that inflationary boom, right? Bretton Woods coming up, all that shit, right? You know it's coming, right? So I think we're like right here right now. And here is this current cycle. Can you see? Remember I showed you that inflation image. Where was that? It's here. Down, up, down. We come up to it into 48. Inflation goes absolutely insane. The market cannot break out, and it actually has to backtrack for a few years as they get this damn inflation problem under control again. Notice that's what I think this is. So I think we're probably going to come back up against this very important horizontal line, and then into the latter part of the century. Do we actually break out through here, or do we have to pull back again? You notice through here that we had to actually spend a few years just treading water. And then once they sort of figured they got the inflation problem under control in prices and labor, look at what happens. Wow. You know, prices of equity assets just absolutely go crazy. So this is what I actually think is what's in store for us ahead. But we have to get through the other side of Klaus's great reset. And I don't know what the hell this is going to look like. It's going to be nasty. But the one way for you to insulate yourself is, you know, number one, don't chase. You can't buy markets like this. But, you know, if we come back down into reload zones, and we all know the 4-year cycles, the way these darn things play out, 23 should be a basing year. I don't see any reason. In fact, really, you know, looking at this image, this thing's actually kind of telling us exactly where it wants to go. I mean, I think there's going to be tons of money made in altcoins and all that kind of stuff. So it's not like you just are only going to do it in Bitcoin. But my hunch is next stop is probably somewhere along that trend line there. Oh, come on, you. Anyway, yeah, it doesn't want to cooperate. Anyway, somewhere up there. So, you know, if this thing takes a couple of years, there's 85, 90, there's 100 G's up into that 20. I'm calling for a peak in this market somewhere around November 2025. So, you know, this thing doesn't even show you. Maybe I can do it on a weekly. There we go. So there's the trend line off of those peaks. Here's 2025, 2026. So fascinating. You can almost see futures predicting. So I said November 25, that's probably where we peak. So where's that? Well, it's just about 100,000. Yeah, I wouldn't even be surprised. 100,000 Bitcoin actually becomes a big fat target, big fat magnet. We could probably also do foggy boggies and stuff and come up with some upside. But obviously here in the short term off of this chart, that's not really relevant. So point here is, you know, this is your insulation vehicle. But just because it's an insulation vehicle, that doesn't give you permission to just go and chase. There's only one market participant that actually can justify going and buying here. Who is that market participant? And actually, you level oneers haven't done the risk management part of the course yet. So you don't even know the answer, unless, of course, you watched all my videos. But little old ladies could go and buy here. We are at or near reload zones. So I don't really have a problem with them nibbling. Reload zone here. And we'll just eyeball it, right? You can see we could be nibbling anywhere from south of 30 G's, right? Ideally, probably set 16, 17,000. That's probably your value level, 78.6. Told you before, 9 times out of 10, you see the W comes in off 78.6. So, okay, let's head back to the questions. I don't know, Lucas, I hope that helps. I don't even know if I even answered your question, but if it's one thing, you sure know how to trigger Brian, eh? So let me know whether that answered your question in tomorrow's daily brief. We can always circle around and take another stab at it. Okay, number 3, what would happen if we didn't dilute the currency? Can't figure it out in my own head. Well, what would end up happening is the economy would collapse. You would have massive bankruptcies. Notice, isn't anybody a bit surprised that we have like no bankruptcies? You don't even hear about bankruptcies anymore. And if anything, bankruptcies are the natural process of the market washing out the excesses of the previous cycle. So it's kind of sad for all you growing up here. You guys don't even know what bankruptcies are like. Yeah, as Andre is saying there, not in the Silicon Valley, dude, the entire fucking country. The whole damn, all of the governments, everybody, everything is completely bankrupt. Everything. What should happen here, you listen to Michael Berry, guys, what should happen here, and maybe that's what causes this insane hyperinflation. How did I get rid of the image? But maybe that's what has to happen. But interestingly enough, all those bankruptcies, that would be deflationary. That would actually take the fluff out of the market. So that's the irony of it all here, Lucas, is that we're living in a whole generation where you guys can't even fathom what bankruptcy even looks like, because they're not allowing any like institutions to go bankrupt. So that's what's scary. And what's really weird is, if you owe tax money, you're not even allowed, like if you owe tax money and you declare bankruptcy, you still owe the tax money. So the whole society, everything has been utterly and completely distorted. But remember, this is the hallmark of the bankster's business model. This is why Rothschild said, and we have it right in the quote here. This is why he said, let me issue and control the nation's money, and I care not who writes the laws, because the laws are irrelevant. It's the banksters who are running everything. And if anybody who's in the business of writing laws, i.e. government, says boo, remember, shouldn't we debate mortgaging our kids' future? Shut the fuck up. All right, that's what happens. It's stunning. And what's fascinating is, you even go to the right now, some media person asked Chair Powell, well, what's going to happen, if we don't raise the debt ceiling in the United States? And he didn't even consider it as a variable. It's not even in his mind. It's not even on the table, which means that it should happen. But unfortunately, what that also means is we should have a massive spat of bankruptcies. You should have food lines. You're probably going to have starvation. You're probably going to have, massive repossessions, massive, the banks themselves will fail, which will mean all of the money that you have in these banks will just instantly disappear. The only thing that's going to be of any value, of course, is Bitcoin. That's what should happen to clean up the excesses. Now, the question you have to ask yourself is, do you think a skeleton like Biden is going to allow something like that to happen? would he hold a gun to your head to make sure that every single one of those politicians in Washington keeps their jobs? You absolutely better believe it. He'll hold 5 guns to your head. He'll hold 5 guns to Zelensky's head. I don't know if that makes any sense or not. Anyway. All right, number 4. In the megaphone chart pattern, week 2, slide 8, Brian talks about the Dow Jones in relation to Da Vinci nightmare. So yeah, see, now a guy like Da Vinci, he wanted this scenario to happen. And, you know, the simple fact of the matter is this should happen. But the problem is that like you said, Andre, it's a crime syndicate. And it took over the US government in 1913. And they've been running the crime syndicate now for, you all have the course material. So you all know this image, wherever the hell my charts are. I just had it on the screen there a second ago. I don't know whether I put it away or not. There it is. There is the crime syndicate. You know, when I started in this business, I looked at this image and I go, you know, there was this guy Newton that lived a long, long time ago. And he said that matter can neither be created nor destroyed. He also said things like, what goes up must come down. But if you look at this image, notice something changed about this image right around 1913 when the banksters officially took over. Notice it's one directional and it just doesn't stop going up. Now, according to the laws of physics, this should not happen. If this was a natural functioning market, we should do that. What goes up must come down. And as the politicians that were in charge right here said, you want to go and gamble in the stock market and you want to go and, you know, buy shit on margin, loaning, borrowing money. Remember, you want to win in this world, neither a borrower nor a lender be. It's one of the oldest Jewish proverbs. But in this world here, it's all about borrow, 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 borrow. We will never pay back the loan. And every time we get to the point where we may potentially not be able to pay back the loans, they go and hit the reset button and issue a whole shitload more debt and paper and dilute the purchasing power of the underlying currency, this US dollar thing that this is priced in, and this thing keeps going up. Brian, bottom corner area is take over by your, oh yeah, you can't even see that. That's too bad. Sorry, guys. Yeah, I've done that before on videos. I mean, the irony of it all is I don't even want my image on the screen. It does, knowing what I look like is meaningless. Hear my words. Anyway, so, you know, why does this image look like this? This image looks like this because of the fraud. It's all a fugazi, and it sucks. It really does. All right, so the question ultimately is, will this scenario play itself out? What it would mean, and frankly speaking, I don't think it will, because every time, I mean, you saw, shouldn't we debate mortgaging our future? Shut the fuck up, give them the money, give them the money. And the worst thing is that, you know, the banksters, they know there are very acute moments where they have to jack the anxiety of the humans. And if they jack them and they get them to the point where they say stupid things like, I'm willing to sacrifice my life to save the economy. Like, what? This is just money, you idiots. Don't be talking like that. But the banksters love that shit. It's their bread and butter. Get the humans all emotionally jacked. And then they'll pass new debt spending like that. Won't even blink. And I hate it. Because it's, you know, and this goes all the way back to Jefferson. I remember specifically, I was right there in the room with him. Well, no, I wasn't. But he even said the The ability for governments to run debts should be made illegal. It is the ultimate downfall of every government. And this goes back to this darn phrase. Nothing has changed. This is goddamn Thomas Jefferson saying it. It kills you. It's the exact same thing. Keep in mind, Jefferson was in power at exactly the same moment that this guy actually said this statement. Exact same time. And Jefferson, he got so angry, and there's nothing you can do about it because these goddamn banksters keep weaseling their way into the system. Generation after generation after generation through these assholes. Brian's I'm gonna bust a gut one of these times. Yeah, exactly. You got where you see the octave meter go like this, then you know, oh, Brian's lost it. But the worst part about it is it never changes, and it's so frustrating because you can't do it. We get substitute drama teachers running the fucking show right now. The banksters are laughing at us. All right, so what I wanted to show you was, let's take a look at that megaphone scenario now. That's what I wanted to keep showing you, but I kept getting derailed. Hey, when you know Brian's reaching for fucking Thomas Jefferson quotes, he's excited. Oh goodness. All right, so let's see what happened to our nightmare scenario. So we said that if they had kept the money printing sort of on course and didn't keep diluting the economy, then we probably should have come down and done something. I don't know if they even use that or not. Maybe. Actually, that's not a bad study. Something like that. So boom, boom, boom. The only problem with this is 1, 2, 3. This is actually a trade location. And what's scary is, let's go and do that now. Boom, boom, boom. And oh, look. Now, do you see how this all plays in? So, if we do this, 1, 2, we should have a 3 somewhere over here. 1, 2, look at this. 3, look at what happened. So the market was just about to break here. I don't know whether you can see that. It was ready to go. So what the hell happened here? And interesting how this is back in 2016. Interesting. Now, why on earth did this not break here? So if Da Vinci's scenario had played out, I think this would have gone 1, 2, 3 like that. So boom, 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 boom. But something clearly changed here. And then notice, look how this is our COVID bullshit, right? And of course, this was good old Donald Trump. He came to power here, and everything just got turned on its head. So I think to a certain degree, the Da Vinci nightmare was sort of put on put on hold when Mr. Trump was elected. Something changed with the dynamic of this market. Interesting, off of Mr. Trump's market, probably, this market probably tops off of the tag of this trend line going all the way up here. But more importantly, on this chart in particular, this was exactly the moment right here that all of those politicians all voted for us to have our standard of livings destroyed right there. Shouldn't we be mortgaging our, shut the fuck up and give them the money. That was exactly that moment right there. So, we haven't, in fact, actually, this is something Grim and I have to do is we kind of have to go through that level 1 program and sort of update it. I keep in mind, I wrote that textbook like 10 years ago. I can't believe it's been 10 years. And clearly you can see the world has morphed. But it is interesting how if this megaphone was for real and the Da Vinci nightmare played itself out, we were supposed to break right here. And this is interesting too, right? Because that's actually right around the Hillary Clinton thing, and then Donald Trump coming into power. And then, like I said, this is all Donald Trump's presidency. And interesting how all they did was they just brought it right back to where the market was supposed to be. And then all of a sudden they just diluted everything and just gave the banksters all their money that they wanted. If we change this to like the M2 adjusted chart, notice the picture changes quite a bit. So here is the M2 adjusted chart. And I think this tells a better story, because this right here, this was 9/11. Notice that, August 2001, September 2001, right there. So that's actually the pivot of the market. And notice, shortly thereafter, then they went and justified it invading Iraq in like a $2-3 trillion war they just made up out of nothing. This is the US financial crisis. They bid the whole market up, got all the public to take out all that bad debt, and it turns out it was a fugazi. Really good lesson. What are you supposed to think if you ever see the market smiling at you? Uh-oh. And then fascinating how they go and print a whole shitload of money, try and rectify things in our Da Vinci nightmare. Oh, market's going to new highs. Oh, that old Da Vinci nightmare thing, that's not relevant. Well, is the market actually going to new highs? Interesting how the market, this is through Donald Trump's shit, market stalled out right at that 9/11 level. Interesting. And there is, shouldn't we debate mortgage income? Shut the fuck up and give them the money. Right in there. And really, it hasn't really changed the situation at all. And as I said, we should probably expect another revisit of this level, but here comes 47, 27. You know, my hunch is there's going to be a big catalyst somewhere up in there. And then maybe if we're lucky, then we can break out through the top. And you see that what this really becomes is just a big ass inverted head and shoulders. And your millennial generation, your bull market is nothing more than the head and shoulders actually just playing itself out. So extensions, boom. Right? Your ultimate objective probably is somewhere up in that area. And then we could probably, I don't know whether this bottom holds or not, but we could probably, if this bottom does hold, we could probably do things like Feigenbaums off of this to give us like stepping stones. Oh yeah, what a coincidence. There's 4.669. So I wouldn't even be surprised actually if they bid this thing up. Usually what happens with Feigenbaums, and again, you know, level one, I need to add this to the FIBS module, the course. Usually what ends up happening is we run up to 2.618, then we come back down and kiss that, and then we probably have that, you know, that 47, 48 scenario that I showed you earlier off of this chart, right? Notice how when we went through this spike here, that's the 27, 28 inflation spike that I'm worried about. Notice how the stock market it pulled back and then it just went sideways for a few years. So that's what I would expect over here. And then probably head up into 4669. So, oh crap. And I was just getting started too. Jesus. What do you think, you YouTubers? Did you enjoy that crazy ass rant? It's too bad we couldn't get like thousands of people watching this, because I think I give you guys good value. I mean, I speak the truth. There's no one anywhere that could debate what I'm telling you here. This is the truth, no doubt about it. The only problem is I swear too much. I am not very good at kissing the machine's ass. You know, so like interesting how Google like unmonetized us and is making us have to jump through a whole shitload of hurdles to get the monetization back. I mean, oh God, it never ends. So, okay. So as you said, it is 1 o'clock. Interestingly enough, I have a far more important job I have to do now. This is just fluff in comparison to my real job. I suppose, I don't know what it is. Maybe all you people watching, try and help me. I mean, if I could go and buy a house for Liam here in the lower mainland and happen to have just $1 million lying around, then I could just sit and speak to you guys all day. And I wouldn't have to, I like literally have to spend 45 minutes driving to where the government has Liam sort of stored now. And then I go and have my day with him. So obviously I'm not playing the game the way I'm supposed to be playing the game. But nonetheless, most important job now is for me to go and give a little boy, and actually he's 22 years old. He's not so little anymore. But anyway, try and give him the best afternoon possible. He doesn't understand money. He doesn't understand the banksters. All he understands is he wants his chicken nuggets. He wants his car ride. He wants his music. And he wants daddy, and he wants daddy on time. So have yourselves a great rest of your day. If you enjoyed the rant, hit the like button, subscribe, ring my bell, all those kind of fun things for notifications. Chris, we probably, I think, if anything, can you please write down, we're going to have to literally harass Julian on a daily basis to get the information from the accountants to get the monetization thing back up and running. So if you could please make a note of it, send them a PM again today, and you know how this goes. We're probably going to have to do, I'll make you a bet. I think you're going to have to harass him 32 times before this actually gets done. So I need Chris for you to do that for me. Okay. Can you do that? All right, cool. Chris gave me the thumbs up. Everybody on the site, let's remind Julian that we have to get this silly YouTube thing taken care of. Anyway, I see you guys over there on YouTube wishing me a good afternoon with Liam. Thank you very much. It really, really helps a lot. Your best wishes. I honestly believe the karmic messaging that you all send, it doesn't matter about time or space. It works. So wherever you are in the world, just take a moment. If you enjoyed the rant, like I said, hit the like button, subscribe, ring Colleen's bell. If you want to get taught this stuff, I know that's not really fair, is it, Christian? Maybe we should make it a rule that you're only allowed to ask one question per. But that's just also Brian too. Remember, I'm not really that good at this stuff. So I'm just trying my best. And unfortunately, when I get all emotional and shit, oh man, I get derailed. So my apologies. But anyway, hope you got some value out of this. Wish us all a good afternoon, safe drive, PMA for the win. I think what we're doing here at TRI is magical. I'm honored that so many of you have put your trust in us, myself, Josh, Chris, Graham, Marat, Shartoshi, Zach, Josie, David O, all the OGs on the site. Of course, Cotter, Cotter and his crazy chickens, Cole, Effie, it goes on and on and on and on. PMA for the win. And remember, guys, I've told you all before, I'm not really in this for personal gain. If what I want to do, I have 3 affirmations. Number 1 affirmation is I got to get fucking Liam out of this goddamn state healthcare system and living in a private residence, and ideally with myself. Number 2, I believe that I've been given the privilege of sort of being a positive message person to the world. Message is slowly getting out there to the world. We have a good 1,000 people or so that watch these videos weekly. So slowly the message is getting out there. And I'd really like to try and let you all know that actually breaking the slavery model of the bankster model is possible. It is doable. You just got to really work hard at it, and you got to be patient, and you got to be disciplined. You got to work with a plan, and you got to get emotion out of your decision making process, and you have to take appropriate risks, and you know how the story goes, blah 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 blah. So I'm super honored that I've been given that job, and I'm going to just keep trying my best just to keep hammering that message home over what you've seen over the past damn year or month, just even the past month. You should believe that this is doable, but you had to been there, and you had to have your shit together, and you had to be ready and willing and able. And if you weren't, then you weren't. Right? If you were, you'd be like a hooligan, banging out 5 million doubles a day. And then finally, I think probably the cherry on top of the cake, and I'll know that this shit will survive, is can we get a physical campus up and running somewhere around the world where, we can just create a little escape. And if I see people that have just been shit on by the world, I can just say, hey, go there. There'll be a nice yurt or something like that for you to hang out in, get your shit together, just calm down, enjoy Chris's crops and all that kind of fun stuff, and just mellow out, and then learn how to, play the game. And within 4 years, we can have you top of the world. So those are my 3 affirmations. I've said them since the day I came back from Portugal. It seemed to me that we found a place in Portugal, but it just wasn't meant to be. So that is what it is. I'm just going to keep trying. You know what my 3 affirmations are. And so just slow and steady wins the race. But as it is, I got to stop talking because I got a little boy who wants his McDonald's and car ride. All right, everybody. Have yourselves a great day. All the best. Chris, if you can take us on out of here, the only thing left for me to say is bye for now.